culture. Everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 62 of Everything is Permitted here in the Zoomscape. I'm your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-hosts, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, and the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. How we doing?
Pretty good today, I think. It's like just a nice day outside.
Alrighty, well, we have an interesting show planned for you today. We got some crazy big news, which we'll be talking about a lot later. We are going to be talking about the Snyder Cut, which is being released. We'll be talking about Zack Snyder's budget, how different the film will be, and a lot more. Big news coming out of Warner Brothers and HBO Max. So we will be getting to that. And then we are also going to take a deep dive into the future of the movie theater. If theaters can make a comeback, like big companies like AMC and Regal, what happens to the little companies as well, maybe? And if on-demand, new feature films are going to be the new norm in the cinema experience. So a lot to talk about there as well. So announcements, we're going to get right into it. This Friday, we'll not only see a new episode of Everything is Delicious, but it'll also mark the debut of our new standalone podcast. This is from Everything is Permitted and from Geeks with Kids, but it's on a bonus episode. It's going to be on its own platforms. It's got its own social media platforms. We announced it last week. A strange new pod will debut. We just recorded our first episode last night. It was lots of fun. I actually just finished editing it. Brittany, I think, was shocked at all the times that I roasted Enterprise.
Yeah, just because I haven't seen it, but you were just like...
that show. But we had a blast. That'll be myself, Brittany, and then Eric from Geeks with Kids and Hawk from Geeks with Kids. So that'll drop 8 a.m. on Friday morning. And that's it. We don't really have a lot of other announcements. Because we recorded that episode last night, we didn't have a watch-along. We're going to continue Matt's Top 10 Films of the Decade watch-alongs this Saturday with the year 2015. I forget which film it is. Matt would probably be able to tell me better.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look, honestly. It's been so long since I did the list.
But it will be something good, and that's what matters.
It's something good
because it's a top 10 film of the decade. So there it is. All right, let's before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about how we can support the show. And Brittany, you told me you have a whole spiel ready to go.
Yep. You can support our show in many different ways. Of course, you can check out our website, everythingispermitted.com, for all of our different episodes, as well as articles and reviews in our blog. And you can also follow us on social media, like our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., for lots of cool little news and memes. Just fun stuff. And of course, you can join our Patreon program, which is just for $2 a month. You can get early access to Raiders of the Bargain Bin, which is, as many people claim, one of our most beloved segments. Thank you, Matt. As well as Everything is Delicious, which is our Top Chef post show. If you want to go a step further, you can also become an Eat Veep, which is an EIP VIP, for $5 a month, which will give you access to our exclusive bonus pods every month, which are usually about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, somewhere in between there.
This month's is 2 hours because
okay, well, there you go.
I recorded the Winter Soldier audio commentary. So if you want to hear me rant and talk about how awesome that movie is for 2 hours, you should join our Patreon.
Yeah, some of our review specials are longer. I think we did the Star Wars one also was an exclusive pod, right?
No, but...
Rise of Skywalker?
No, but... Still, that was long too.
That was going to be good. Sometimes they're longer. Speaking of our patrons, I want to give a special shout out to Billy Peets, Heather Reppert, Rob Migliaccio, Michael Cox, Nikki Beasy, Matt Moore, Gabria Wimbush, Rob Carter, and Anthony Matarese.
Yay, and let's welcome Anthony as our newest EIP VIP. He just joined this week, so thank you for supporting our show, as always. And then Matt, if people, as we know, we're in a bit of a rough period of the year right now, and COVID is still going on. How can people support us if they can't afford to shell out some cash?
By going to wherever they listen to Everything is Permitted, whether it be Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere else, and giving us a hopefully 5-star rating.
$5
$5 foot long. I don't know.
Which sucks because it's not a $5 foot long anymore. It's like a $6 foot long, and that doesn't sound nearly as
the
cool.
base price is $5, and then if you add other things, it's more.
That's how they get you.
I never understood it myself. I showed up and I was like, "This is $5, right?" And they're like, "No."
No.
I was like, "Oh,
Nope.
okay, Subway." Lied to.
Let's get into rants and raves and who's got something for us today. Go, hit it.
Okay, so I've been playing Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a cool board game, and I found that it's super fun. You're a group of people that go to this like haunted house, and most of the game you're playing kind of working together to like search through all these different rooms, find items, and then eventually the game reaches like a climactic point where then there's a betrayal. So one of you becomes a traitor, and then it changes every single time depending on where you find the last item or when the haunt part of the game begins. So it's cool. Sometimes I've been the bad guy. Sometimes my brother's the bad guy. Stuff like that. So it ends up being like one of your friends turns on you, and sometimes you have to escape the house in time, or you have to find a way to like kill them. It depends on the scenario. So it's really cool. I feel like it has infinite replayability, and it's only about like an hour of gameplay.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I really like it, and apparently there's expansions and stuff. We'll have to look into it, but I'm excited.
Karen just bought us some new like fun games to play while we're still trapped inside. So looking forward to playing some of those. Yeah, games are fun. Gonna plug one of our episodes. If you're bored and looking for things to do, listen to our board game episode, which is a couple episodes ago.
Did you just make a pun?
I think he did.
Oh, an unintentional pun, but a pun nonetheless.
No, it was pun intentional.
It's Brittany, bitch.
You're welcome.
Matt, do you have a rant or rave?
Trying to think here what I could. We're going to kind of talk about it in the permitted minute, so I don't know if I want to rant about it right now. But the whole mess up with Fellwinter's Lie and Destiny.
Go ahead, rant about it.
Mess.
It's only in the permitted minute. Talk about it.
So yeah, I still cannot believe that quest was bugged for as many days as it was. You're talking, you have this pinnacle weapon that the entire community was working towards, and literally like the Destiny community is insane because they crushed this quest, which probably should have taken like a week or two at least, and like did it in like 4 days, I think it was. And the quest was done, or you go and do this thing, and the quest was bugged. Nobody could complete it, and it was bugged for like, I want to say it was like 4 days, something like that. And it blows. And I remember I went on Reddit and was looking, and people were even saying like, how was this never even play tested? Like, did they not test this? And it was one of those things where it's like Bungie dropped the ball in such a huge way. And I mean, it pissed so many people off, myself included, that I was like, great, I have this quest sitting here that I can't complete. And I mean, I don't understand how in the modern video game era you could have something that big slip by.
I think that this season of Destiny has really shown a really bad light on Bungie and shown a bad light on their split from Activision. I don't think that had they still been with Activision, that, you know, their quality control would have ever let this slip by. This season is not good for Bungie, and they're going to need to do something absolutely amazing in the next couple of weeks when the new season launches, because people are really pissed off right now. Not just about the Fellwinter's Lie quest. This season has been a huge bust. People are complaining about too many bounties, the game being broken in some ways, the whole sunsetting of weapons. It's a mess, man.
Well, the thing about that though is that like I don't even know what's happening next season, because normally they put out like a trailer or something like that, you know, so you kind of know what's happening with the story at least in the next season. And we are about 2 weeks away from this, and I don't think they've said a single thing yet.
Not a thing.
What next season is. So
yeah.
Do you think Bungie will bounce back from this?
Shame.
I'm just saying, like,
Shame.
okay, fine. Just want to make one Bungie joke.
Yeah, I mean, you're still
Sorry,
getting.
if I played Destiny, I could do better jokes, but I don't.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's crazy that we haven't gotten anything for the new season yet. Yeah.
yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's not looking good. I have a rave. So, as we mentioned in our announcements, we recorded our new show and we've been promoting it on all the social medias and Reddit, because one of the things we're going to do on the show is a mailbag, and we really want people to interact with us. We want to be able to read their emails and stuff. So I made a post on Reddit saying, hey, we're going to be doing a new podcast about Strange New Worlds. We want to know what you think about the show, like things that you want, things that you don't want. And this one guy, his name's Jack Sparrow Jive on Reddit. He kept on talking with us, and then just like out of the blue, he went into Star Trek Online and created our own custom Constitution class starship. Like, no one asked him to do this, and it had the podcast name and the registry number of our first recording date. And I was just like, the Star Trek community could be so freaking great sometimes, and it just blew me away. I was shocked. I was like yelling in my house. No one was here, luckily. I was just like, that's so cool, because it's also one of my favorite classes of starship anyway. So I was just like, oh man, it was amazing. So that guy made my day.
They were really cool pictures.
Yeah, he got some great angles and great shots. So I was happy. It's really cool. I'm super stoked about that. Anything else before we move on?
No, I got nothing.
Cool. Well then, it is time for
The Permitted Minute.
I wasn't prepared for that. That was
no,
good.
no, you weren't.
that was awesome.
I didn't even think of a voice to do.
Do something.
It's the permitted minute.
I love it. It is the permitted minute, and we are going to go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Gatus, start the clock.
Sony announced that the Days of Play will return once again starting on June 3rd with big deals on games, PS Plus memberships, and more. The promotion will run until June 17th.
In news that seemingly came out of nowhere, Ruby Rose has exited Batwoman after just one season. Rumors Rose was unhappy with the long working hours as the lead and became increasingly difficult to work with.
Thanks to Konami Europe, the complete Castlevania soundtrack is available on Spotify, just like our podcast.
We will be talking about this in depth shortly, but HBO Max shocked us with the news that the Snyder Cut of Justice League will be released on the streaming network in 2021. Also, in more bad news for Destiny, players who grind out the latest weapon quest, Fellwinter's Lie, to be bugged. Luckily, the situation was quickly patched by Bungie.
This past week, one of my favorite Star Wars films, Revenge of the Sith, celebrated its 15th anniversary. Hello there.
As if we're not excited enough to eventually return to movie theaters, a new trailer for Chris Nolan's Tenet debuted this week.
I'm giving it to you. We were like right on the 55, like by a millisecond.
Yeah.
A millisecond. We did it.
I can't believe I stuttered. I never stutter.
It's the permitted minute. Anything could happen.
I think it was just like tongue twistery.
That
PS
was
Plus got me for some reason, and I was like, why? I say that all the time. I'm always like, where's my PS Plus free stuff?
that was the closest we've done it, I think, in some time. Like, it was on 55, and
we did it by a hair.
By a hair. So some of these were longer this week. So yeah. All right.
Trixie.
HBO, Warner Brothers, Zack Snyder himself, during a Man of Steel watch along, hit us with the big news. The Snyder Cut is actually happening. It exists. There's a budget. There's reshoots. There's going to be a new score, I guess. This shit's bananas. We kind of talked about it in a previous episode, and now it's happening. I mean, it's hard not to be excited despite the fact that Justice League sucked.
I feel like I was more excited like right after the movie came out and they said there was a Snyder Cut. But I feel like by now my excitement's kind of like less, if that makes any sense. Like, I want to see it still, but at the same time, I know it's not going to like completely retcon the DC cinematic universe. So I'm just like, it would be cool to see what it was supposed to be, but like,
yeah,
I want to see it, but I'm not like breaking down doors being like, where's the Snyder Cut? We were, robbed.
Give me the Snyder Cut.
That was me like 2 days after I saw it in theaters. I was like, Snyder Cut was probably better. Where is it?
I mean,
now it's 2020.
To be fair, anything has to be better than whatever Joss Whedon did to that film, in my opinion.
You didn't like Mustache Gate?
You mean I can't even talk about it seriously. It's such
The upper lip.
It's just such a major screw up.
Don't get why they had to do or like reshoot anyway when they had footage from that scene, because it's hardest for VFX artists to do the upper lip. Like, your lips are the hardest part to do, so you don't want to have to do anything there where you're erasing and completely redrawing. Because that's why his lips like pull up and like they do things that your lips don't do.
They could have just waited for him to be done shooting Mission Impossible, and they didn't.
And just,
oh my god!
I can't wait for people to be completely let down by this cut and just be like, oh, it must have been something else is why it sucked. It's not because Zack Snyder just made a crap movie. It has to be somebody else's fault.
the only thing that gives me some hope is just the fact that after the theatrical Justice League was released, a lot of the actors immediately said like, oh, but I remember filming this scene and I thought it was going to be in it, but I guess that's in Zack's version. So like they seem to be leaning towards the fact that they liked his better. But at the same time, maybe I would have said that as an actor too, if what came out was absolute horseshit, and I would just been like, a better version exists somewhere.
I don't know.
Maybe in my mind.
Just because, listen, that makes sense if you're talking about like one actor, right? Like Jason Momoa tends to go on tangents. Like if it was just Jason Momoa being like, man, they should just release the Snyder Cut, like it was such a better movie, like I'm in it more, then okay, maybe you take that with a grain of salt and maybe it's not this better film. But literally every single
it was every actor
is like, release the Snyder Cut. It is, they haven't specifically said this is a better film, but they share images from it. They talk about it. They support Zack Snyder. My whole take on it is that I think if people liked Man of Steel, I think they might like this version of Justice League. Obviously, listen, there's no forgiving Batman vs Superman, right? Like that was just a bad movie that was all on Zack Snyder. I've talked about this on the show many times. I'm a huge sympathizer of Man of Steel. I have some problems with it, but overall I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to be more thematically along the lines of that.
That can be a good and a bad thing, though, honestly. Because, I mean, let's, like I am a slight apologist for Man of Steel. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it had some decent ideas behind it. But at the end of the day, I would say it's above average at best. And then you have Batman versus Superman, which was a cinematic atrocity. That's what that was. And then Justice League. I mean, as I said, I'm very skeptical that any Snyder Cut is going to redeem the Justice League movie, because I mean, I'm looking at Zack Snyder's films right now, and I'm like this past decade, he doesn't really have a great track record of movies that I would be like, oh yeah, this was really good. I mean, you're talking Sucker Punch, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, and I think that's it. And he has a partial director's credit for Suicide Squad for doing the Flash cameo scene.
To be fair, I don't think that you could really put Justice League in there simply because of the fact that Joss Whedon basically reshot the entire film.
Well, once again, we'll see what happens, but I still am very skeptical because, I mean, honestly, if you're an actor, you might be like, oh yeah, there were so many better scenes in there, thinking that they would never be spending $30 to $40 million to re-release this movie and redo stuff in it. Because now you might be like, let's say the Snyder Cut comes out and it sucks. Now you're basically like, oh man, I was wrong. Maybe this movie just sucked all along.
Well, Matt, you just mentioned it, and let's talk immediately about it. Let's talk that budget. It's rumored that Zack Snyder has like I still can't believe these numbers, if we're being honest, somewhere within the $20 to $30 million range to finish making his version of the film. That is a shit ton of money for a film that has already been released and had a full theatrical release, is on home video. And man, like, Warner Brothers is taking a big risk and going all in. But at the same time, I'll go first here. Giving him that kind of money, I feel like there has to be something in this film. Like, they screened it and said, okay, here's $20 $30 million. Go have fun.
But what the hell is he
Probably.
what the hell are you going to do with that money, though?
It's pretty ambitious, but I mean, he didn't get to film the majority of what he was doing. He left the project pretty early. So the 20 to 30 million is probably for whatever reshoots he has to do that, Joss Whedon didn't do when he took over. So I don't know. Or, I mean, visual effects is extremely expensive.
A lot of that budget, I think, is going to go into redone VFX shot.
Redoing that.
Well, and depends
on how much of the plot got scrapped.
Well, a lot of Henry Cavill's stuff got scrapped as Superman.
Yeah, he was supposed to come back black suit
Superman, no mustache gate. I'm guessing mustache gate is going to be a thing of the past after this version comes out. But yeah,
unless he grows another one now.
I think he's got something going on during quarantine, like me. I'm like all shaggy right now.
That's his what does he play? Oh, World of Warcraft and Warhammer.
He plays a lot of
Warhammer
stuff.
Beard.
Yeah. Visual effects cost a ton of money. It does sound like they're getting some of the actors for reshoots. I guess I heard something about them rescoring the film. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I guess they weren't really happy with Danny Elfman's, or maybe just he had different music in mind. He might, I don't know, maybe Hans Zimmer is going to come and work on it because he's done all the other Zack Snyder films. Who knows?
I can't wait for Steppenwolf to still look like complete garbage in this.
He might. What if he's just not in it at all?
I would love that. No, I would love that.
Then who would be the main villain in this?
The whole idea that, as far as I know, was that Darkseid was supposed to be, is it Darkseid or Darkseid?
Darkseid.
Darkseid. It's just spelled different.
Seed, yeah.
Darkseid.
That was always Snyder's idea. That Darkseid was going to be the head villain in this, and then I don't know where the whole Steppenwolf thing came from. I guess it might still happen. I don't think he's going to look like shit anymore if they're giving them this kind of money to redo stuff. Who knows? I think part of the reason they're giving him this budget too is that they're hoping that it all gets made back with people signing up for HBO Max subscriptions.
Yeah, and just the amount of people that'll want to see it just to say they saw it and then can give their views on over which is better or worse. So I feel like they're definitely going to make the money back real quick. But if it's just kind of like a meh film, then it won't do anything groundbreaking. But it is unusual that this is happening because we've had director's cuts, 20 years later for things, like Blade Runner and different versions and cuts of films. But this is an interesting version.
Yeah,
that's gonna happen.
Let's talk about that a little bit more, right? Because we kind of talked about it with the money. This is unheard of for a movie that's already been released. That kind of money is a game changer and everything that's going on. I mean, we could be getting an entirely new film. Now, I think the closest thing to this maybe that's out right now, it goes all the way back, I think, to the 70s, 80s with the Richard Donner cut of
the Donner cut
of Superman 2. I've never heard of such a thing happening. This is kind of revolutionary.
It is kind of groundbreaking. I just hope it's a good sort of groundbreaking, I hope, well, I don't want this to become a trend in the future. Like if somebody just makes a bad film, they think, oh, let's throw another 30 million at it and then we'll fix it completely. But this one I think is allowed to happen because of, unfortunately, Zack Snyder left the project due to a tragic event that happened in his family. So it's not his fault he had to leave the project. And somebody else took over and they just did their own thing with the film. So I get it.
I mean, though, I can't even, as Julian mentioned, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 or whatnot. Has any movie had a director's cut where it was considered pivotal, groundbreaking? Man, I am so I'm not saying that there aren't people who don't enjoy director's cuts of certain movies, but at the same time, I can't think of one that's I really want to watch the director's cut instead of the original for the most part. There might
be. For me, it's Blade Runner.
Yeah, I was going to say Blade Runner.
The only one that 100% I will say, I will only watch the director's cut.
I'll also say The Wrath of Khan. I think the director's cut is much better. There's some more emotional scenes. It adds some more gravitas to what Khan has done to the Enterprise and what's happened. Enough to the point where if I go back and watch the non-director's cut of Wrath of Khan, I know things are missing. The film flows better in the director's cut as well. So that's just my opinion.
But the thing is, both of the movies you guys talked about are kind of more nerd culture stuff. They're not like Justice League, which is, I would make the argument, more mainstream. And I get most unless you're a Trekkie, you haven't seen Wrath of Khan, and probably I guarantee you, if I go into work tonight and I say like, oh hey, who here has seen Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, I'm going to get blank stares back.
I don't know, man. I've heard a lot of people seeing it, and you ask them that same question, and they may not know a lot about what happened in the film, but they'll always say, "Oh yeah, that's that movie where like the things go into the people's ears, right?" Like that's what people remember about it if like they're not Trekkies. That's at least if I've had conversations about it with people.
Yeah, there's not many like big director's cuts out there though, so you're right in saying that this is like a different level. It's more like across mainstream. Anybody you talk to, even if they don't watch Justice League, will know if you say like, "Oh, did you hear about the Zack Snyder cut?" They'll be like, "I didn't even see Justice League, but yeah, I've heard it."
Well, yeah, all the advertising and like that's like the big thing
culture.
for HBO Max, right? Like this is they're advertising this, and I think they're advertising Big Bang Theory being on there as well.
They're actually getting like a lot of things.
Yeah.
They're even doing cartoons that like are streaming on a Cartoon Network and like doing them there.
Well, I don't want to get too far off topic, but I'm kind of excited for the streaming service because they're not screwing people over in the sense that like if you already have HBO, you get HBO Max. Like they could have very easily done like, well, if you have HBO and you want HBO Max, you have to pay like another $5. No, like if you're an HBO subscriber already, you get Max. And to be fair, Xfinity did the same thing with Peacock, which I also really am happy about. I think these massive companies are learning a thing or two from customer complaints. We've already kind of mentioned it a little bit, but let's talk about it a little bit more and ask the big question. Can the Snyder Cut redeem the film?
No. I'm sorry.
I don't think it will. I think it might just provide a better story, hopefully. And maybe will be a better what if scenario. So we would have understood, oh, this is the movie we could have seen had he stayed on. But I get it, because when I watched Justice League, I felt what scenes were his and what were Joss's. Like you could feel the tonal shifts, and you could feel that it was like two different directors, like conflicting sort of things pieced together. But like I said before, I don't think it's going to fix the DC Cinematic Universe's issues. Like, even if it's a great film, even if it's an amazing, mind-blowing film, it's going to try to retcon what happened and is already in people's memories and has already affected DC films since then.
Has it, though? Has what happened in Justice League affected Shazam or Aquaman?
I mean, not plot line-wise, but I just mean that it's affected literally its status in pop culture. Like, it's been DC Cinematic Universe has been so like flatlining. You have occasional blips that get better, like Wonder Woman. But you still have, I mean, when people watched Wonder Woman and then they watched Justice League, it was the same thing. They like destroyed her character in that movie a bit. You know, all these things that you get from her film, and then you get this lackluster idea. So if he's able to bring the characters to the point where they need to be and make people excited about the DC Cinematic Universe, that would be great. But it's still not going to erase that another version exists that a lot of people saw also.
So I want to take you back to something that you said near the beginning about how the first thing that you said after you left the film was like, oh man, like I want to see the Snyder Cut. And the fact that so many of the actors and fans who don't normally like Zack Snyder all came together to get this release. Like, I guess my question and where I'm going with that is, you know, don't you think that might, like, if it does end up being that good, that will take the bad taste out of people's mouths and make them forget about that if this ends up being what people want it to be?
But the problem with this is that what's the ultimate reason for doing this? Because Ben Affleck is out as Batman, as is guy who played Superman. I can't think of the name.
Henry
Cavill. Jesus
Henry
God.
Cavill.
Yeah.
I don't think he's completely out. I think they're just not doing anything with him right now, so he's just kind of like on standby.
But I don't think that they're going to like it's going to suddenly revitalize. Like, yes, Henry Cavill's back as Superman. Awesome.
I liked him as Superman.
I loved him.
I mean, he wasn't bad. No, I'm not saying I didn't. I'm not saying I hated him. I'm just saying it's not going to do that. So why are you doing this at this point? Because it's not going to re-energize the DC cinematic universe. Like, it's pretty much at this point, you have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. That's the only character that I'm like really looking forward to seeing in more movies. I'm looking to Wonder Woman 1984. I'm sorry. It's like, I like Jason Momoa. He's a nice guy, but I never was really like, oh, I love him as Aquaman.
I'm just gonna say Zachary Levi is Shazam. I'm stoked for Shazam 2.
I don't count Shazam as part of this because Shazam like did its own thing. It was fun and all that, because we even discussed that. It wasn't dark and gritty and serious. It basically took Shazam and had fun with it. And I actually think Shazam was made almost as a result of how dark and gritty Justice League and Batman, Superman were and all that.
But it's hard to say that you're not not excited about some things, right? Because like we went to see Shazam together, and I'm pretty sure we're all excited for that sequel, as well as
I liked it.
The Rock being Black Adam when that comes out.
I hope it lives up to expectations. I hope it does what the actors and fans and the director want, because I feel like they want to do this to tell people like there was supposed to be a version that hopefully you liked better. We still want to make it if you want it. And that's the thing. People still want it. So they're going to make it. I just hope it is good. It's more like I don't have expectations for it. It's not that I'm trying to diss it or saying
I understand.
For sure be shit. I'm just not getting my hopes up because I feel like it may just be a good film.
I'm going to be the optimist.
I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
I'll be right there in line if theaters reopen. I'll sit right down and watch it. I'll be there dressed up.
I'm going to be the optimist and say that I think that it can take the bad taste out of people's mouth if this is the movie that all the cast say that it is, and that all these people who signed the petitions think that it is. I think that they'll make Whedon's version a thing of the past. Like, this will be, if it ends up working, the definitive version of Justice League. No, I don't think that it's going to revitalize the DC film universe. They screwed that up too much with Batman vs Superman, and then Justice League being the complete shit stain that it is. But I just think that it could give some hope to future DC films that aren't Shazam, like what we're going to get from possibly Wonder Woman 1984. If Henry Cavill, puts the boots and the cape back on, it'll be interesting to see. So I'm definitely a bit of an optimist about it. Lastly, let's talk about it. And honestly, I'm guessing we're all the same. I don't really remember a lot from the film because I tried to erase it from my mind. But is there anything from Whedon's version that you absolutely want to make sure don't end up in the Snyder Cut?
Well, I don't know. Personally, I don't know what Whedon necessarily did in there versus what Snyder did. I'd have to kind of watch them side by side and go, okay, yeah, I'm glad this was removed. Much like you, I remember like good chunks of Justice League, unfortunately, and I'm in therapy for that. But the thing is that it's, as I said, like Steppenwolf already like looked like complete garbage. I at no point did I feel threatened by him or did I think he was interesting. So make Steppenwolf more realistic or believable for starters. That's my first thing I would say.
Yeah, I feel like Steppenwolf is too big of like a VFX monster. Because like, what makes Thanos a better villain? See, Julian's all excited because I'm like bringing up Endgame. But is the fact that they did like mocap, they put a lot of Josh Brolin into the character. They spent so much time making him believably CG, if that makes any sense. Not so much his, lackeys. They were just, like weird space Squidward.
Squidward!
I love the Order, but like they made them.
They did not do the Order well. I will say that they did not do the Order well.
So Steppenwolf felt more like the Black Order.
Yeah.
In Endgame. So if they could like maybe completely remove him and do something
just get rid of the villain and put a new villain in the film.
Or at least do a different version of him, maybe do a mix of like somebody actually acting as him, and I don't know. It could be cool.
Yeah.
I just want a better plot.
Yeah.
That's literally it. I'm like, can it make sense, please? Like, you did the death of Superman so fucking early. Make it work. Make it make sense. Give me the black suit at least. I was at least excited for that. And then I watched the movie and I was like, is he just not wearing a shirt right now?
I think that what Whedon did very much is that he put this whole stupid, like, using the DNA from, I think, like, the monster in Batman vs. Superman, or however they brought him back, was all Whedon. And I think that's incredibly dumb. So I hope that, like Brittany said, Clark coming back in the black suit and that all is done the way it should be. I also listen. I'm gonna be the feminist, so Brittany doesn't have to. Joss Whedon's like ass shots of fucking Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, it's
also the dialogue with her and Batman. Like, I just didn't care for like half of that movie how they represented her.
Yeah. No, I'm
Sorry?
with you. They very much sexualized her for the film. I hope that's not in Zack Snyder's version. Yeah. And just please, for the love of God and everything holy, for the love of Krypton, no Stashgate. Please.
Yep.
Please.
Don't keep any of that stash scene.
If you have to cut a lot of the film, I'd even be happy with that. Just, I don't need that lip. It gives me nightmares.
I hope they keep cool slow motion like speedster stuff. I love when they do that in X-Men. I love it when they do it in like any movie. And I did like, there were like 2 scenes in that movie I remember I liked in Justice League. And I liked that Superman like moved his eyes super fast to see him because that was just like funny. But at the same time, I hate when they put funny in like the wrong moments in films. So don't MCU it where like a film's supposed to have gravitas and then you throw in a one-liner. Like, just let it have gravitas.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe this will be the exact same film with a $30 million just
CG update.
Dark filter.
Yeah. Oh man.
You guys are being the optimist. I think I'm the pessimist here. So
That's fine.
Yep, that's
This
fine.
is what
Be
DC
interesting.
has done to us.
Mhm.
If anything, I feel like I'm just playing like neutral.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like,
yeah.
man, I hope it's good, but I have no expectations.
I'm
Just
ready.
none.
I'll be the optimist. I'm ready. I want to see it. I hope it's good. I hope that it makes it so we can get a Man of Steel 2 because I really want to see Henry Cavill as Superman again. We want to know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about the Snyder Cut being released. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, and you can email us at permittedpod@gmail.com. We will read your mailbag on the next episode. We always love hearing from you guys.
Release the butthole cut.
Oh yeah, your
Cats
move,
2019.
your move,
Oh
DreamWorks.
God.
No, please don't. I don't
Release the
wanna
butthole cut. Do it. Do it.
see it. Do it.
Oh man.
Please don't. Don't do it.
Did anybody watch the Broadway Cats that they did? They did a viewing of it's on YouTube now. You could watch the Good Cats.
I've seen clips of the musical, and I'm still like,
You're too scarred from a cavity.
Yeah, I think the movie ruined
Cats for
it
you
almost
forever.
ruined cats in real life for me. I remember I came home that day and I couldn't look at like my cat
Martha, you
I was
disgust
just
me.
like, I was like, Martha, walk away. And then she did, and I was like, oh God, the butthole cut.
I can't get over your cat being named Martha. I'm just putting that out there. Every time you say her name, I'm just like,
I
oh
didn't
my
get to
God.
name her, but I love it.
Martha, why did you say that name?
Sometimes when I'm looking for her, I'm just like, Martha, where is she?
Oh man. All right, let's move on to our next segment, and that is the future of cinema and movie theater chains. Guys, what do we all love doing together? We all love going to movies and then doing this show. And like it's
Let's all go to the
movies.
movies.
Let's all go to the movies.
Snack bar. Let's go.
Let's go. It is the biggest thing that I miss right now about this whole being in quarantine BS. Like, I want to go to the movies. I wanted to see Black Widow. You know, I wanted to see. Listen, I'm not excited about the Disney live action stuff, but I wanted to see Mulan. I did not want to see Scoob, and I ended up watching it on Friday with my daughter. You know, I was actually going to rant at the beginning of the show about something we talked about, Brittany.
About Will Forte?
About Will Forte as Shaggy and just the utter disappointment. But we won't get into that.
That was the main part that like took me out of that movie. Aside from that, I liked it. But then
It was
every time
fine.
you talk, I'm like, you're not Matthew Lillard.
Yeah. No.
Definitely not Casey Kasem.
Nope. So in a recent poll, it seems that a majority of moviegoers are ready to return to theaters, and the poll was ridiculously lopsided. It was 91%. Those are the amount of people ready to go back, as long as there's some measures in place. I think it was like 5% who were fine if there were no measures in place, which, you know, get educated, bro.
That sums up our entire country.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just ask you guys, are you ready to go back to the movies?
I'll say yeah.
Yeah, like I love movie theaters. It's one of my happy places. And like I want to go there. But at the same time, I can still survive without going to a movie theater. Like to me, it's not like I need to now. If they have safety measures in place, like probably. Because I mean, we go to grocery stores all the time. We're around tons of people, but you know, with proper safety measures. So
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world if I can't go. I've been watching things as they're released, if they're released on demand and things like that. I do miss me my ices though.
I was gonna say there's no icy machine in your
Icy.
house.
I've been eating a lot of water ice, so like.
Oh, you say water like most Philadelphians. Oh my
No,
God. Yeah, you did it.
I say water normally when I'm like talking about drinking water. The only time I say it like that is when I'm referring.
Are you sure? Are you
Yes,
sure
I
about
am
that?
Sure. Yes, because my mom's from Texas and she calls everything water.
Water.
And my dad is from this area, so he calls everything water. And that's the only thing. I will call any other version. Like if I say, hand me a water bottle, I'll say water. I say water all the time. Wah, wah. I will call it that. But the minute I see Aritas, it's a goddamn water ice.
Give me that water ice.
There's nothing you can do. It comes out before I even know.
Oh my God.
And
Matt,
people are like, that Italian ice. And I'm like, what the fuck are you
that's
talking
what
about?
I call it. I'm from Queens, though. That's what we call it in Queens.
That Italian ice.
Oh God!
Me and Peter
Italian.
Parker call it water ice. I mean, shit.
He's one
I've been
of us.
transplanted too long in Philadelphia.
Did you see that article I shared about how Philadelphia is like the 8th sexiest, I almost said language, 8th sexiest dialect in the U.S.?
I mean, I think the Philadelphia language is pretty amazing. I mean, like John and
Scoop.
water and yeah.
I-95.
I did like Brittany's post about that when she said, "Yeah, we made it. Come get that water ice."
Matt, where are you on movies? Do you miss it? Are you ready?
I mean, yeah, I miss it, and honestly, like it's funny because when I talk to people online, when I play games and stuff like that, sometimes the topic of oh, are you still working? I'm like, yeah, I haven't stopped. I still go to work. Like for me, nothing has changed. So for me, I mean, at this point, I'm just like put whatever measures in. And I would say, whenever it's safe to do so, allow people to go back to movie theaters. I do miss the experience. That's what I miss. Like much like Brittany, like, yeah, I can survive without it. And I'm already kind of an introvert anyway. So
yeah, social
distancing didn't really affect me much because my life pretty much hasn't changed as a result of it. So, but I still like going out, and honestly, I like going to movie theaters and seeing new movies and kind of sitting in the dark and getting the full experience of actually going to see a movie.
Getting poked by Brittany.
Okay.
Brittany nearly breaking my hand saying I need to get the fuck out of here as we're watching Cats.
That was one time with Cats. Me getting too excited over Birds of Prey. I don't miss like $14 popcorns, but you know what sucks? Julian, you just got me like A-list for my birthday right before COVID happened, and we went and saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and I was so excited to use my A-list, and then literally the next week, everything shut down, and I was like, I finally got to see free movies. I'm excited for that. Hopefully AMC survives this and they'll keep A-list going because I want to experience that.
I'm worried that they'll come back and they'll be like, sorry guys, no more A-list.
Supposedly Amazon's trying to buy them out, with all that money they have from not paying their taxes.
Yeah, for real. I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Bezos is a bozo.
Yeah, he is a fucking bozo. Dude, let's change subjects real quick because talking about bozos, you know who's turned out to be like the ultimate supervillain? Elon Musk.
Lex Luthor?
Well, him too.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he is.
Like,
Elon Musk has always been a dick. It's just people are now realizing that.
I think people just thought he was smart because they didn't understand like the technology he was talking about. But I'm sorry, he's not Tony Stark.
No, he's not Tony Stark. No. He's like, I guess people didn't fully realize like he is kind of the Lex Luthor. Like he's kind of believable as this nice guy, but the minute that like something happens, like he's like threatening California to like move his plants and shit. I'm like, dude, like, get the fuck out of town.
So I'll say this. I never ever think that anybody who's accumulated millions and millions, if not billions of dollars is a nice person. You stepped on quite a few people to get there.
Yep.
Yeah. It means you're literally getting money off of the labor of your workers.
Yeah.
There's no way that in a normal working society you make that money not destroying people's lives.
So going back to the DC universe, Elon Musk is Lex Luthor.
Ta-da!
Wait, which Lex Luthor? Jesse Eisenberg?
I like Lex.
Yeah, I'm kind of leading towards Jesse Eisenberg, right?
Jesse Eisenberg, Gene Hackman. I mean, we
Not
got a lot
Gene
of Lexes
Hackman.
to choose from here.
Dude,
Maybe
when
John
they named
Cryer?
their kid a Wi-Fi password, I lost it.
I cannot believe that was real. I seriously,
The
oh my
worst
God.
timeline we're living in
It's
right
like it's literally like a string of letters you get when you like name a star, you know, when they first give you the certificate and they're like, now you can name it something cool, but this is A-3E5X9.
now. Is it supposed to spell like Alex or something, or Alexa? Or
No, I just made that up right now.
Oh.
But
You
I don't
know-
think it means anything.
You know what, Julian? I'll going back to the real quick. Like, I'm not ready to go back to movie theaters. I'm ready for cockroaches to just start running civilization because I don't know if they can do any
Oh,
worse.
don't
at
talk
this
to
point.
Julian about that.
I just got
That's right. I
goosebumps.
forgot about that.
We all had flashbacks to cats right now. We're getting hot. Okay, we're fine. We're fine, Julian. Don't think about it.
Like literally have tears in my eyes right now.
You're the one who brought up Wrath of Khan earlier and ear stuff. So
Those aren't roaches. Though.
We're hitting Julian's trauma.
God.
Um,
Dude, I read an article about this the other day. Like, a dude had like a moth crawl in his ear and he couldn't get
Julian,
it out.
no.
Oh, it just brought back all the
Mothman.
memories. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
I'll change the subject. So I do want to say that as much as I'm okay with going back to theaters, like I'm fine with also things being released simultaneously for at-home viewing. I have no problem with both options
Yeah.
because it helps people that can't get to a theater regularly, maybe can't always afford it. People that have disabilities or maybe like hearing impairments that, you know, you go to the movie theaters, they don't have closed captioning. So
Yeah.
it could be the better option for a lot of people.
So one thing that I was not prepared for that kind of excited me about on demand, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I'll say right now, is we got Scoob on Friday so Cecily could watch it. And
Scoob.
I thought the way this was going to work was it was going to be like $20 to just rent because it was a new release. And then I discovered that it was $25 and now I own the film. And I'm like, $25 is about the price of a Blu-ray. So like, I'm not disappointed in the price. We own it. It's not just a rental. So, you know, not that I'm like, you know, super excited about owning Scoob, but, you know,
At least you have it if your kids are like, I want to watch it again.
well, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like Karen was like, do we rent it for 20 or buy it for 25? And she was like, yeah, no, of course we're going to buy it. Now Cecily can watch it whenever she wants.
Yeah.
And listen, like, would I buy Black Widow for $25 and watch it on demand?
Hell yeah.
Well, let's skip around the questions here since we're on the subject. Would you prefer watching a new AAA film like Black Widow in the comfort of your own home? Is that something that is appealing to you? Or do you like what Matt said, the experience of witnessing these new films in the dark in a movie theater?
I'm going to say I personally enjoy the movie theater experience, and I'll go back to when we saw Shazam. And because I remember Julian, we're sitting in the theaters and all that, and then I remember the thing for it says like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and you could like feel the entire theater go, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like you're not going to get that experience at home. And I mean, another experience I had years ago was my friend and I saw they re-released Back to the Future in theaters, and we saw it in theaters, and obviously. And I remember we're sitting in there right at the end when Doc says like, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." And as soon as he said that, the entire theater like flipped the fuck out. I mean, like people cheering, clapping, going, "Yeah!" And it was awesome. It was one of those extreme geek out moments that I can't have in my home. With like a bunch of strangers, like a single line, like pretty much brought the entire theater to its feet, going completely ape shit.
Same thing with Endgame, right? Like when
Yeah.
Cap says Avengers Assemble finally and he gets Mjolnir, like,
Yep.
dude,
And
theaters
you lose
just-
your hearing for the next 5 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the theaters just fucking erupted, man. It was crazy. Yeah, how about you,
Yeah.
Brittany?
Like I said before, movie theaters are my happy place. When I was little, like I've told you guys before, my aunt would just buy a ticket in the morning and we would stay there and hop all day. So like I grew up in movie theaters. I love that experience. I'm never gonna not go, regardless of how well the movie industry is doing or not. I think there's a whole culture behind going to see movies and like going out and doing it, and it's an option for people. You know, some people love going out, other people don't. Like my dad, he never goes out to the movies. Did it like twice in my childhood. But at the same time, maybe if people want to have specific like watch parties, you know how a lot of people are doing that now. I could see like maybe a AAA film being able to watch it at home and have like a party that's related to the film.
Right.
Some people might do that like for someone's birthday or something, just to make it more like exclusive and like fun.
Yeah.
And they can say whatever they want and don't get in trouble in the theater, you know?
So like,
But
yeah.
I would always pick theater over that. Movie at home if it needs to like happen. Like if something happens where we can't all meet up or whatever, then we watch our own time at home. That could work.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like I made the Black Widow example. Like I wouldn't want to do that. Like there's too many factors. Like like when new superhero movies come out or like a new Star Trek or a new Star Wars, like I don't want to be in my home, even though, listen, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to gloat about my TV. Like, I have a 55-inch OLED. It's got Dolby Vision. I got a whole surround sound system. Like, I'm set to watch a good movie. Like, it'll look good. But crying baby, child who might wake up, have to pause the film. I don't like new films and having to pause them. Especially like if it's a rental, like
because you get pulled out.
Yeah, you get pulled out of the moment. I will always love movie theaters, and I hope to God that they survive. Let's go back.
Oh my God, I still have $100 gift card.
Oh, you do? That's right.
Remember that? I got it for my birthday.
I think
my friend gave it to us,
some
so
of it, right?
we could use it for the reviews. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was just for Portrait Lady on Fire.
Yeah.
Literally an icy and like nachos.
Let's talk about our eventual, journey back into the movie theater and talking about some of these, what the safety measures would be. As people may or may not know, we're in Pennsylvania, and at the beginning of the month, it looks like our county is going to be moved into what they're calling the yellow phase. I don't think movie theaters are going to be allowed in that phase, but it looks like after that in the green phase, that is something that could start slowly happening. People being spread out. So some of these things would include, like I just said, seating being spread out, so not people right next to each other. I think it basically it would skip a seat. And then
skip a reclining chair.
Yeah, exactly.
They're basically 6 feet wide.
Yeah. Plexiglass screens in front of those seats, and then getting your temperature taken upon entry. The question is it excessive? Is it just right? Not enough?
I need to see what the actual measures are before I say this is insane. This is a little overboard versus, all right, this is reasonable. This is fine. Like plexiglass, like, I think that's a little overdoing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'd be like, that's going to block my...
Yeah, exactly, because you're going to get like all the reflections off the plexiglass. I'm going to be going, God damn it!
They better make it look like 3D glasses, at least, so I could like lean up and be like... if we all wear masks, I don't see why the plexiglass needs to be there. But definitely for the workers, like for sure they should have, so we don't like get up in their face, because...
Well, let me ask you a question that's not on here. Like going to get your popcorn and going to get your candy and your soda, they already have the Coca-Cola freestyle machines. That's great for social distancing. You don't have people handing you things. You're doing it all on your own. How about candy? Do you want to see, like scoop your own popcorn, or is that too many germs? Like how can we make concessions safer when we go back to the theater?
I think they're just going to wear gloves and masks and do what every other food service is doing now. I don't think there's much more you can do. But a lot of things are boxed, like even the nachos they hand you already, they're already pretty sanitary.
They're boxed and they're sealed. Yeah.
Exactly. So popcorn's really the only one that's out in the open, but maybe they'll do something where they put it in like a covered lid bucket and then hand it to you.
Yeah.
Either way, I get my ices.
That's the only thing that matters. That shit
myself. If they give me another color, like
COVID crazy cherry.
Like COVID cherry. Like, oh God, we live in a capitalist hellscape, man.
You're the one who brought it up. You want a new color, damn it.
No, I want a new color just because you know how I feel. Like when a new movie comes out and they do like a weird color that's only associated with the movie. Like the Addams Family black cherry, which turns your poop green, guys.
It did. It legit
FYI.
did. Fun fact.
I don't think that'll still be there when we get back, but I want a new color. That's all I'm asking for. I don't know.
Like you guys, I think the only thing that I have a problem with would be the plexiglass screens. If they can make them where they're not, doing reflections, then I don't have as much of an issue with it. But like, just make sure people are spread out, not really interacting with each other. I think that'll work. I think one thing that they're going to need to do, and they are not doing this before COVID, is you need to clean the goddamn seats. Like that's going to be the thing. They're going to have to make less viewing so they can clean the auditoriums after each time.
I hope they pay their employees more.
They need to. They need to get some kind
poor
of
high school kids making like $7 an hour to like wipe your seat down. Like, but I hope that like with the plexiglass. I don't want it to look like when you're watching Netflix and then it pauses and asks, "Are you still watching?" and you see your reflection for half a second. Like, I don't want to see how I look at all. Like, I just want to think about the film.
Moving on from, if we're ready to go back to theaters, which it sounds like we all are, let's talk about the situation where theaters don't recover from this. And we are in this situation where, you know, AAA films are going to be released on demand on iTunes, on Netflix, wherever. In this poll that we've been referencing, people were asked if their streaming services, their habits have changed during, you know, the quarantine, and the short answer was a simple no. Netflix remains the top streaming horse, and then Prime and Disney Plus were actually at 10% or under, which kind of shocked me about Prime, at least. People are streaming just as much as they have. So, and then we've seen, you know, theater releases like Trolls, which kind of set up a big, you know, AMC kind of.
I hate that Trolls was a groundbreaking thing for the film industry.
I know.
You know
It couldn't have been like
Trolls 2 changed the film industry.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw a really funny tweet. Around the time that movie theaters were starting to close, Trolls 2 was just coming out. And you know how when you see like post-apocalyptic films or games, and then it always shows like the last like posters up by movie theaters, like what was coming out when this all happened? For us, it's Trolls 2. Trolls 2 marked the beginning of a fucking plague.
Oh my God. It's ridiculous. Man. So we saw them and Universal resort to the on-demand release, and they made bank. So that begs the question, is this going to be the new normal? And the question also is, will streaming services like Netflix, like Prime, like Disney Plus, will they fight for the rights to stream these AAA films upon release date?
So
we gotta fight for our right.
So one issue that I can see with the streaming new movies is that Netflix, for example, doesn't have the service set up to pay us money and you can watch this movie. It's just, if it's on there, you can watch it. So Netflix, I don't think will have any skin in that game, or at least won't do it. But you have like the exclusive streaming services where they might be like, oh, you can rent it for, you know, $20 or buy it for 25, as Julian said with Scoob. So that is probably going to be a more prevalent thing. I think that what'll happen is that it'll depend on what happens to movie theaters once stuff starts reopening, and people, and whether or not that the movie theater industry kind of recovers, or at least kind of starts getting back to some semblance of normal, or whether it craters. Because I saw today, there's already been like 3 companies, and obviously they're not, this isn't pop culture stuff. So, you know, like Hertz and a couple others that have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is, you know, restructuring bankruptcy. So I would say it's kind of a coin flip at this point, whether or not that it becomes the new norm for like Trolls World Tour's release, essentially becoming the new norm for movies. I think they're going to go back to regular movie releases, but it's a question of how long that might last. And, you know, as I said, it comes down to, does the theater industry recover?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say also that I feel like movie theaters, even after all this, if things go back to whatever we consider to be normal and we can go to theaters, I don't think they'll just stick to theatrical releases. They might try to make agreements with streaming services, or at least ones like Prime, where, you know, they can submit the movie there and then people can pay to rent or buy it. Because I feel like it's just going to be a new option now. Like when we go back to normal, like things will still change.
Yeah, I agree.
Will have these things in place. Hair cutteries will have certain measures in place for if it happens again, or this is just how we do it now. So I feel like movie theaters can recover pretty quickly because everybody's going to want to go, first of all. And people will also be looking for those same things. They're going to be like, well, maybe I do want to rent it at home, or maybe I want to buy it. So let's have that option now.
Yeah.
They just have to be smart. Like movie theaters have to be smart and safe about it, because you don't want, you know, a company like Disney could theoretically be like, well, we produce the whole film ourselves, so we're not going to go through these avenues, or we don't have to pay the theater at all.
When they could just put it on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, Netflix doesn't have something like that. They produce their own movies, of course, that are on their streaming service. But if AMC wanted to, for example, like join with Netflix,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you have access, or join with Amazon Prime, which it looks like is going to happen because Amazon's trying to buy them out, we might see that.
Yeah.
So it might just be an agreement. Hopefully it's a good one. We'll see though.
I think I'm with you because AMC already tried that with their own streaming service. So to get rid of that and make an agreement with one of like the big giants like Prime or like Netflix, I think would be a spectacular call. Yeah, we'll just wait and see. And then I want to end with the question: are movie theaters done? Do you think they recover, or will there always be a need for them?
I could see movie theaters eventually down the road, maybe not in the next year or so, but they become more of a niche market, like the restaurant movie theaters, where it's like you literally sit down, get dinner, it's brought out to you, and watch your movie, and the whole experience is very expensive. I've never even been to one of those things.
They suck.
Honestly. Yeah,
Yeah, like
and-
movie
Yeah,
tavern
they're not
or
fun.
whatever.
Yeah, like a
I don't
movie
like
tavern.
it. It takes me out of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way. I'm not rushing out to go to one. I could see eventually movie theaters going that route eventually, because I mean, it financially speaking, I think AMC was already losing money before COVID happened.
Yes, they were.
Before the outbreak and all that. So I mean, unless people feel this swell of I need to go to movie theaters right away to prop up the industry and keep it going, I mean, to me, the question is, how long does the movie theater industry limp along before something big happens to change it in one way or another, whether that change be good or bad?
Yeah, I feel like small theaters aren't really going to recover as well from this. Bigger theater chains might have a bigger chance, or they're going to get gobbled up. I'm worried because like that already happens with, like live ticketing for events. It's all owned by like two companies. So
Yeah.
like I just don't want
Monopolies.
I'm tired of monopolies. They're not supposed to happen in our country. There's laws against them, but here we are. You're like, well, technically it's an oligarchy. But anyway, I don't think movie theaters are ever going to be like not needed. Like, especially in the US, we have we have Hollywood. They're obsessed with themselves, let alone people obsessed with celebrities in Hollywood. So like, it's just such a part of our culture that like you can't imagine movie theaters themselves ever totally disappearing. Like it's a whole thing. Even when you see the Oscars, they go to a theater to present, the Oscars. It's a whole event. So I don't see how anything would. It might not do well. Hopefully, I hope everybody goes out when it's safe, not just rushing out like idiots, but goes out and supports the industries they want to thrive. I mean, we're all trying our best right now with the ones we can, local businesses and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah, I hope they survive. Like you said, Brittany, movie theaters are my happy place. I love going to a movie by myself late at night, like last showing of the night. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I don't want to see AAA releases on my couch. I don't want to do it. So I really hope that they come back. I'm kind of like you. I think there's always going to be a need for them just because Hollywood loves to suck their own dick.
See? You said it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think unfortunately, like, listen, the Narberth Theater, two screen theater in downtown Narberth, really quaint, really small, probably not going to survive. The Wayne Theater, I can think of all these small theaters on the main line where we used to live that might not survive this. So that's sad.
Yeah, I'm worried about historical theaters.
Yeah.
Like ones that were like the first in the state and things like it. Like I think the Newtown Theater is another one.
Yeah.
So it's like that's one of the oldest ones in like the US.
Meanwhile, drive-throughs are going to make a comeback.
They should at least get a big projector and just shoot it on the side. Like, could you imagine AMC just like on the brick wall outside? They're just like,
be awesome, dude. How
Here's
about
Black Widow.
everything is permitted? The drive-through. let's make our own, guys.
let me just open my window real quick.
Yeah, right. Well, we want to know what your thoughts are on returning to movie theaters, whether you like streaming these bigger films at home. Let us know. Email us at permittedpod@gmail.com. Brittany's got her Mirror Universe mustache again. That means it's time to go. We'll see you in June. We'll let you guys know what we have planned for that month. This is our last episode of May. So, for Matt, for Brittany, I'm Julian. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.